Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3733 East Broadway. This is a special live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you live on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app and stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. We can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And without further ado, I want to bring in a international star of melodic improvisation. He's a mercurial cat from Brazil, but had a huge impression on so many cats here in the States, playing melodic music, improvisatory music on his piano, inspiring, stretching out ears, and making some absolutely epically classic albums as a leader. João Donato, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Okay, how are you?
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Hello, very good. And you?
I'm having a ball. It's such a high
How
honor.
are you?
It's such an honor to connect with you, my friend.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be talking to you too, and to the audience.
Oh, it's gonna. I mean, people are excited about this, and this is just part one for us too. I just, João, I wanted you to talk to the audience about what is your concept, or what is your definition of the word jazz?
Well, the word jazz. It's about spontaneous improvisation, a spontaneous way of life. It's a way of life, jazz. It's about how you feel, how you would like to be understood, how you'd like to understand both things.
Can you talk a little? I mean, a lot of people I interview in the United States, a lot of the jazzers, African American musicians, black musicians, jazz is a way of life. It's a jazz lifestyle. I mean, is that what? Can you talk a little bit about? Because the first time I see you on a record is 1965, Brazil piano, João Donato. But I wonder, can you talk about your jazz life, especially, what it was like to play how you feel, not commercial, not pop music, not play for what the audience wants to hear, but play inside you. Can you talk about your jazz life from at the beginning?
Well, it's all about how you feel, how you live, how you see the world, how it's your life. Your life is jazz. Music is part of life, and life is jazz. That's what I think.
Can you talk about how you ultimately, like early on, how you got a record deal with RCA, how you wound up becoming known how you became a leader?
I became a leader. I don't know. It was a natural thing. I first was invited, first time to record with my name on a record was invited by Antonio Carlos Jobim, who was the musical director of the record company. He invited me to do a recording with my name on, and that's the beginning. That was back in the 50s, 1950 something. From then on, I started recording many records. By now, I have about 30 records recorded under my name, and it just started with the first recording. Then I came recording until now, until today.
This is interesting. When Jobim, were you playing bebop?
Bebop.
in the 50s? Because I mean, no, because I mean, I believe listen. I interview many. I interview Diodato. He talk about you you like to have very strong Brazilian coffee. He talk about that. It was so funny when he told me that story, but I because Dizzy Gillespie, Lalo Schifrin, I want to know if you were playing bebop because that was the popular music in the United States at that time.
Yeah, that's what I like to do. That's what I like myself. I like bebop and boogie, just like Horace Silver. Just like Horace Silver.
Just like Horace. Well, yeah, exactly. That's just like Horace Silver. That's exactly.
Yeah, Horace is my favorite musician.
Why is he? Why is he your favorite? Because tell me why.
Well, because he has a rhythm conception that I admire very much, and I believe I am a little bit like that too. And the rhythm, Brazilian rhythm, he has that Cape influence from his father, and he sounds the way I like, on piano.
It's rhythmic. Yeah, no, I mean but I mean going back to when you were just coming up professionally, were there jazz clubs that you had a chance to play in? Were you playing swing music? Were you playing more traditional Brazilian bossa or samba music? I'm just trying to figure out because, by the time you get to, how did you meet Dave Pike? You started to collaborate with the vibraphone player Dave Pike?
Dave Pike was playing vibes with Herbie Mann.
Uh-huh.
And I recorded a song with Herbie. And I met Dave Pike that was in Herbie's group. And he asked me to record an album with my compositions, in which I gave him about 6 or 8 songs, and I went back to LA and he recorded in New York with Dizzy Gillespie's rhythm section at the time, and Kenny Burrell on guitar, and the Clark Terry on trumpet.
Wow, Joe, your memory is so good. It is Kenny Burrell, Rudy Collins, Dave Pike, Clark Terry, Chris White, Chris White was Dizzy's bass player, which is exactly. Here's the question, Joe: did Dizzy and Charlie Parker, did they call the music bebop, or did the writers and the journalists make up that name? I'm very fascinated by that. I don't know where the word bebop came from, and I'm just wondering when you first heard the word, and if Dizzy and those guys, James Moody and all Sonny, those guys, did they use the word bebop?
I don't really know. I heard their name became so popular, like Bossa Nova is popular. I don't know when it started calling bebop or Bossa Nova. Yeah. I just got familiar with the name, like from Gillespie and Parker, and I enjoyed the singing bebop too, like Ella Fitzgerald and Gillespie's band and Jackie Kane, Roy Crow. They were the buffers. Dave Lambert. Yeah.
Talking to Joao Donato here on the Jake Fine. Yeah, go ahead.
No. I was wondering if you were still there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm listening to you. Because so could you maybe explain how you connected with Mongo Santa Maria.
Almost, I connected Mongo when I went to see Count James' group at a nightclub in Los Angeles. I met Mongos and Willie Bobo, and they asked if I wanted to sit in for a tune, and I did, which I did. And after that, Mongo called me on the side and said he was going to leave the band and organize his own group, and he wanted me as a piano player, which we did, and so I moved to New York, where we were living in the 60s. Mongo Santa Maria, he left Calcid and he organized his own band, the Charanga band.
Right. No, this. Why were you in Los Angeles?
Oh, first I went to Los Angeles to play 4 weeks engagement in Lake Tahoe with a friend of mine, Brazilian, who invited me to go. But after the 4 weeks, I said, I'm going to go back to Brazil. And he said, no, wait a moment. we have to pay the tickets that I bought for you to come to America, which was, he bought in monthly payments. And I have to stay to fix that trip that I made to States, and I was staying, and when I saw, I got married, I had a child named Jodel, and when I saw, I wasn't leaving the States, I had a family there, and started playing with the Latin groups, because the jazz was very, very, very few, very, very little jobs for jazz.
Absolutely.
They play with Mongo.
Can you tell me the name of the who did you come here with? I didn't catch the name. Who was the band leader that you were with when you came here?
Oh, when I came to the United States, the leader was Wally Furness, was from Panama. We had a trio. Wally Furness.
How do you spell that name?
And
how do you spell last name? Furness.
Wally Fernez.
Wow. And so you were playing in Lake Tahoe.
From Lake Tahoe, and then we had a funny group. Me on accordion, and Wally on congas, and Nanai, that other guy playing violon, guitar,
Wow, what an amazing trio. Guy. Wow. That's incredible. Yeah. Incredible trio, man. Holy cow. Congas, guitar, and accordion. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, yeah. And when we got through the job in Lake Tahoe on Harris Club, I would come back and I said, now we have to pay the ticket that we got for you to come here. So okay, and I began staying, and until I spent 10 years there, 12 altogether.
Can you talk about? It's amazing to me. You are Brazilian, so it's bossa rhythm, a samba rhythm, different rhythm than is it Mongo, Willie Bobo? Though that is Afro-Cuban. That is clave beat. Can you talk about how similar? Was it very easy for you to fit into the Latin setting? You are not necessarily a Latin brother,
No. In fact, I had made a audition early the day I met Mongo and Willie I had made an audition early in the afternoon, and I didn't was approved. I was not approved by the band leader, Rene Bloch. He said, "Oh, you don't know how to play Latin. Oh, you have to know how to play Latin." He said, "Yes, you have a special style of doing, and you don't know." I said, "Okay." So I wait for the night come, and I met Couch Shaver. And then I met Morgan and Willie, and they invited me to organize a group with them soon, which we did, and I spent about 4 years with Morgan, I think. And then I went playing with the other Latin bands because the jobs for jazz groups, they were very few.
Even you say in New York, when you moved to New York with Mongo, was there not many jobs for jazz, like jazz standards or Latin jazz? I'm surprised to hear that. I thought there were many clubs for like the Palladium or the Red Garter, but you say in New York there were not many jobs for jazz?
No, New York was good. I mean, in Los Angeles, I asked the guys like Franklin Saline and where to find musicians, Terry Gibbs, where to find musicians to play jazz, which I was interested in. And he said, there's not much jazz in town. All the jazz musicians are playing, they are playing Latin bands. You gotta look for jazz musicians on the Latin band, like Tiro Puente, Perestrado, Machito, Eddie Palmieri. So I went for the Latin band because there was no jazz gigs. So I developed the Latin style, which I learned playing with them. And the jazz was not jobs for jazz. They had only Monday nights in some small cafes to hear jazz, like I did. I heard Fred Rosaline with the quintet. But I say, hey, where do I find jazz for me to join in? And I said, there's no such a thing as jazz in Los Angeles. All the jazz musicians are playing Latin bands. So I went for that.
When you this is so fascinating, João. This is so interesting. I mean, you show up at A&M Records, Rene Bloch, is that right? What record company?
Record company? No, there was a band. Rene Bloch.
Oh, Rene Bloch's band. You went for audition. You went for audition. He said to you, João, you don't know how to play Latin music?
Yeah, he said that. And later on at night, I met Couch Shaver at that same club where I auditioned. At night they had Couch Shaver Quintet. Then I met Morgan Willie, and they asked me to play with them, and I did, and they liked the way I played. You know, was not exactly Latin I played, but was enough good enough for them to be invited to be his third players.
It's so amazing to.
Which I made a group.
This is, I mean, because
he had the.
Yeah, go ahead. Was Willie?
He had a,
yeah, go ahead.
Group. They had a group with the remaining musicians of the Cuban group that dismantled this band in New York, the new rhythm of Cuba. Nuevo ritmo de Cuba. Yeah. And I said, but I don't know how to play that. He said, no, that's enough. Well, we did what you did. That was good enough for us. And so I wasn't so sad as I was in the afternoon because they said, you don't know how to play that. And later on at night, I was invited by Mogo, one of the best conga drums in the world, and really to join them in the band. I said, well, not so bad.
Could you talk about this is so important, Joe.
Yeah.
This is so important because the drum signifies a language of the slaves in Brazil, in the Caribbean, and Mongo Santa Maria. He played the drum very spiritual, and you play very spiritual piano. And could you talk about the significance? I mean, so many so many Western people just think that the drum is there to keep time, when in fact it is to alter consciousness. Okay, it is to transcend and it is to communicate. And I wanted you to talk about. I mean, you play piano, and that's a percussive instrument. Could you talk about the meaning of the drum to you?
Well, they are very serious about that. They have religious rituals when they play the drums. They have
Descargas.
They have rituals like they talk about some rituals with the conga drums. They call macumba. Here in Brazil we have candomblé, which they play the drums and they sing about some entities, some saints in the Yoruba tradition from Africa.
Right.
It's a very spiritual thing, the conga drums, and they treat it very, very, very special. And we should not, touch those instruments. They are sacred, like sacred drums.
Sacred drums.
It belongs to the guy. Sacred drums. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
It's sacred drums for them.
You how did you wind up? My favorite album of yours is A Bad Donato.
Yeah.
How did you wind up? Because that was through a Blue Thumb record. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but you wound up. How did you wind up connecting with Bob Krasnow and Tommy LaPuma?
Well, Bobby was. I went to Japan, invited by Sergio Mendes, and they were going to record in Japan the group Bossa Rio, which I joined the group for the trip, and Bob Krasnow was going together with us, and he liked to be. He talked to me during the trip that when we come back to Los Angeles, I was going to record an album for Blue Thumb, and in which I would do whatever I want to do and play with whatever I want to play. And so I didn't give much attention to this when I came back to LA, but soon after, Amy Richards was looking for me and said, hey, Bobby Krasnow is after you. He said you promised to record an album for him. He's searching for you. I said, okay. I got in touch with
You know what? It's so great. I can't believe you. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
And they said, okay, let's do an album. You do whatever you want. You go in the record stores, you go in the musical stores in LA, you find the instruments you want to find. and take you home, and we signed for you to get acquainted with the instrument. I thought about some keyboards, and I decided to make an album with a little bit of noise, which I did, because at that moment I could not imagine doing a bossa nova album very soft and sweet when it was we heard in the radio, didn't have Janis Joplin, those guys who were making some noise. The Beatles, I have to record something which I don't know what, because Krasnov said, do whatever you want. We do whatever you want. And I said, that's a very tough job to do what we want with person that we want. It's too vague, How am I going to do that? How am I going to do what I want with people that I want? So I gathered, me and Eddie Richards, which became the supervisor, him and the Puma.
This is because Emil, Joe, I'm 39 years old. Okay, I go visit.
Yeah.
I go visit Emil Richards he is a dear friend of mine. I am so touched, so blessed that that Emil come find you. How did you meet Emil? When did you meet Emil Richards? Because he was doing so much odd time signature and so much percussion. When did you first meet Emil?
Yeah, I met him in Los Angeles. I don't know in what condition, but I ended up meeting him like I met all the other cats of the 19th.
You're one of the cats too, man. Renee Block said that João Donato could not play Latin music, but within one afternoon into evening, you connect with Cal Tjader and Willie Bobo and Mongo. Was Willie playing a trap set or just timbale? I'm very fascinated by rhythm. To me, it is rhythm is love. Rhythm makes the world go round. I curious about, your even with the Bad Donato album, you say Krasnov says play whatever you want, and you say that's too vague. I don't know. That's but it kind of it seems to me that that's kind of like the definition what you told me jazz was to you. Jazz is spontaneous. It's what you feel. I realize an album is different.
Yeah.
But I mean, can you talk about some of the great rhythm, some of the great drummers you play with, like Dom Mao and Willie Bobo and those cats, and what made them great drummers?
I played with most of the conga drums in LA, like Modesto Duran, Francisco Aguabella.
Oh yeah.
Armando Peraza, Carlos Vidal, Luis Miranda, Chino Pozo, no Chano Pozo.
Chino Pozo, not Chano. Chino.
Yeah.
Whoa, he's brother? He's a brother or something?
Oh no, I guess no, Chino Pozo. I don't really ask him what connection he had with Chano, but maybe not. He was just Chino Pozo.
Cool.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forgot to ask. Him if he had connection with
Hey,
RPM.
João, I want to play you a piece of music that is yours. I want to see if you can recognize it, and then we come back and talk about it. Okay?
Okay.
All right, my brother, you're one of the cats. Do you recognize that tune?
Yeah. Where is Jordell?
You got it. You Cade Jordell. In English, it means the beautiful one, and that was off Bad Donato. How did you start to play the? You have very nice time feel. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Could you talk about how you developed rhythm, how you developed time feel? Was it natural for you? Did you, or from an early age, how did you develop your time feel?
Oh, I think that's what I say that I got from childhood. And I cannot explain. That's one thing that you are born with, from child.
So it was intuitive groove, the intuitive rhythm inside you.
Yeah.
What, did you?
In Brazil, everybody has much rhythm. Everyone is a musician. Everybody plays in the summer school. And for me, it's easy to I was born in the Amazon region. I got influence from the jungle and the waters and the birds, and I got that rhythm special.
Can you talk? This is so interesting. Can you talk? What do you mean you grew up in the jungle? I mean, like you literally had a house in the Amazon? You live in the jungle?
No, I was born there in a small town in the Amazon Occidental region, Acre. It's a place called Acre. Then you look in the map. It makes connection with Peru and Bolivia. The region.
How do you spell it? Arca? How do you spell the town? How do you spell?
Acre. A-C-R-E.
Accra.
A-C-R-E. Acre. It's my town. That's my state. And the town is Rio Branco. Rio Branco. Like White River.
White River. And so you grow up with the sounds and the rhythms of the animals and the water. I mean, it's all natural that you grow up in that in that environment?
Yes, I lived there until 11 years old. When I got 11, I came to Rio de Janeiro, which was the capital at the time, the capital of Brazil.
This is so amazing. I mean, you know, so did you know Ayrton Moreira? Ayrton, he come to.
Oh yeah.
Okay, he come to New York, right? A little bit after you were already there for a while. He come to New York in the late '60s, and he goes to these. He speaks Spanish, you know, and he go to these Latin clubs or Brazilian clubs, and he has his shaker, cuica, all these percussion, and his own people. They say no, you can sit on the side of the stage and shake that thing, but you cannot come out with us. Okay, you can sit on the side. And the people that actually took him in were the jazzers: Cannonball Adderley, Walter Booker, Miles Davis. And it's so to me, it's similar to you. Did the jazz community embrace João Donato? Were you embraced by your own people, or was it more the jazz community? I mean, we did talk about Mongo and Willie Bobo, but how accepting was the jazz community of you?
Oh, yeah, well, I was welcome, but the jazz community was not that had not that many places to play. Like only the big names could play on the jazz clubs, and I was looking for a space of practicing the jazz, and they said there's not much work for jazz in LA, you know. They have small clubs, small crowds, and small money. Everything was small. Monday nights, you know, there was not a very popular thing. The popular was the Mambo nights at the Parade, and the Mambo nights, you know, that took over the Los Angeles. Every day they had a dance gig to be played by those acts like Tito Puente, Machito, Perestrada, all those cats. So I had to search for a job, and I looked for a Latin band, and they embraced me. As I was working playing Latin music, most of the time I spent in the United States. And later on, when the Bossa Nova came in, and I started playing with my own group, I had a trio. I played with Chet Baker at Sausalito, and played until he got an accident. Chet Baker, and then
who was in your trio?
Oh, I had a trio, a Brazilian trio, with Sebastião Neto, and Paulinho Magalhães.
Yes,
Paulo
yes,
Magalhães.
yes.
This group left. They left. They went to play with Bola Sete, and I ended up without a group. And when I went to play at Sausalito, which I used to do many times a year, the owner, Luis Donapola, a guy with Greek descendant, he said, "Oh, that's horrible music you guys play. Where is your trio?" I say, "Oh, I lost my trio. My trio is gone." He said, "Okay, bring a jazz musician that you know in Los Angeles." I was in Sausalito, near San Francisco. I called Chet Baker, and then he came to play with me with my trio that I had to make up a trio. Andy Donnie on bass and Bobby Ramirez on drums. But we were not as tight as my little trio. So he asked me to bring a jazz musician, so I brought Seth Baker until he got an accident at Broadway Street. They beat him up. He lost his teeth, that jazz. And then I had to bring Bud Shank, with whom I had made the record, which was my first record in the United States, with Shank and his Brazilian friends.
Exactly.
Which, yes, that was my first introduction to American recording business.
Did you have a chance to play with Stan Getz?
With Getz, I didn't play with him. I played at the same program as he was playing. He was playing. Yeah, we did one thing at one of the universities. I forgot the name. One of the Cornell universities, maybe. And when he was playing with Astrid Gilberto, the girl from Ipanema, I had a chance to play with them once or twice.
Could you talk a little bit about, it's very interesting because in this country, Stan Getz gets a lot of credit for merging bossa nova with jazz. It was jazz samba. Charlie Bird recorded all these rhythms in Brazil, and it was known as samba, and then it became bossa nova. And I just want you to talk about João Donato's contribution, because Girl from Ipanema, that was written by Joe Beam. And actually,
Yeah.
the day of the session for Girl from Ipanema, João Gilberto started to play this 2-beat bossa rhythm. That's what made it danceable music. Stan Getz's playing was great, but I don't think Stan Getz was necessarily responsible for bossa nova music. And I would like you to talk about your contribution to that vocabulary, that language of bossa nova.
Well, there was a mixture. And we had the Stan Getz jazz improvisations, and the tune that Jobim wrote and Gilberto was doing was just a matter of Getz playing his jazz saxophone. It became a nice mixture.
Right.
This when I recorded for Pacific Jazz with Shank, Richard Buck said that he already had made some records with Laurindo made in Good Shank called Brazilians. He said, yeah, we did some guys are calling bossa nova. We already were doing them on the 50s. I said, okay. It's all right. He claims that he was one of the first of building jazz American with the Brazilian rhythm.
I agree with you. I think you're Bud Shank, right? I mean, that was you and Shank.
And then I recorded Bud, yeah, with the Segundas rhythm section, bass and drum and guitar. Sebastião Neto, Chico Batera e Rosinho de Valença. But and then I started recording for different records in these states. I did one album called Sabor for Richard Buck. And then I did one with Carl Zogman, to do Sound of Brazil for RCA. And then I did Ben Donat for good time.
Yeah, I'm just going to read this off
And
here.
then
I
I
mean,
did
this is incredible. This is João Donato. You do the new sound of Brazil, piano of João Donato. Then you play piano on Astrid Gilberto album, and then you do Sambu Sambo, and that is your trio. Bud Shank and his Brazilian friends. Now, Bud Shank. Now, "Girl from Ipanema" became a pop hit. That's the thing. It was jazz, as you said. There were not many gigs. It was not ever really. It was popular American music in the 30s and 40s and 50s, but was it that that song became so popular? Is that why he's given so much credit when in fact you and Bud Shank were doing something similar or even before Stan Getz?
Yeah, because the song was a hit, a commercial hit, a popular hit, a pop music. Jazz became popular all of a sudden because the song was a hit. And that happened to widen the jazz horizon, because jazz was never on the charts, like maybe number 100 on the charts, but not on the top charts like it became with Ipanema. Was on top chart. The Beatles and the Girl from Ipanema, they were all together on the top charts. So jazz was never so much popular as it was when it came around. And Getz got all the credit of being on the saxophone.
I was going to say, can you talk about I see here João Gilberto and you on this amazing Bud Shank album. You and him collaborate on a song, Minha Saudade?
Yes, Saudade. Oh, that's back from the 50s.
Yeah.
Elizabeth wrote the lyrics. He wrote some lyrics for that song. It's called Minha Saudade, It's like missing someone, that city of missing a person we call Saudade. He wrote the lyrics for me in the 50s.
In the 50s?
In the 50s.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, did you know?
Yeah,
did you know João Gilberto in Rio de Janeiro? Did you know him then, or did you meet him in the States?
No, we are good friends in Brazil. I met him when he came to Rio. I was already here in Rio. He came to join a vocal group called Garotos da Lua. And so then we met. And people say that we look alike, which we have the same kind of style.
Yeah. But I mean, can you, João, can you talk to the audience about the tribal music that you said you lived in Acre for till you were 11 years old, and I just wanted you to talk about the tribal music of Acre, the kind of when you saw music as a spiritual, as a communion, as a call to the angels, as a call to the spirits. If you could talk about a time when you were a boy and it was very inspiring to you.
That's like a child, you see everything with amazement, and I hear that music that was being made and acted very, very primitive, very rustic, and that got in me, influence in my personality. And then later on, I moved to Rio with 11, and then I start going around places where they play the drums for rituals and to sing for saints. And I got a few melodies from those plays. I recorded a few melodies from those plays, like Xangô de Bar, like Emoriô, like Menina. I got those songs from listening to rituals of Umbanda, Macumba in Brazil. And then I got involved. I love the jazz Latin, the Afro-Cuban music, which brings a lot of drums and which I love, in much rhythm, pulsation. And I fell in love with that style of music. After playing with Mono for so many years, and all the other cats like Eddie Palmieri, Johnny Martinez, not René Bloch. René Bloch cannot play Latin, but all the other guys like it, so here I am.
Do you
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, did you have a chance to ever meet or see John Coltrane play music?
John Coltrane?
Yes.
No, I didn't meet Coltrane. I just heard him on records. I didn't meet him. Not him, not Parker. I met Gillespie, who asked me to join his band at the time, here, Parker. But I didn't join Gillespie's music.
Dizzy, what year? Can you talk about Dizzy? Can you talk about Dizzy? He was in the club, he saw you, and then he came up and said, "I want you to join my band."
Oh, I met Dizzy at his hotel with Lalo Schifrin.
Uh-huh.
Lalo bring me to the hotel where it was Dizzy, and we became acquainted with each other. And he asked me if I ever had read the Bible. I said, no, why? Why? And he said, because there's some chapters written for the great musician. Is in there. I said, oh, he showed me certain places in the Bible where they have some words about the great musician. No, was written for the great musicians. Oh, I didn't know that. But later on, he invited me to join his group. He had a quartet going on. Dizzy and the saxophone alto, I forgot his name.
Is it James Moody?
Maybe Leo Wright.
Oh, yeah, Leo Wright. Absolutely, Leo Wright. Good. Yeah, Leo Wright. Yeah.
Yeah, and the bass and drum, and he asked me if I want to be a piano player. I said, no. I don't know how to play jazz. He said, no, but I can teach you. Like you see what I did with Lalo. Lalo now is writing for the movies. I said, no, but I don't want to take it. I don't want to take a chance,
So you were you? I mean, hold on. I want to ask you. Were you? I don't want to. How do I say this? You were a little intimidated to play that kind of music, jazz.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, because at that time, playing with the glasses, how am I gonna do that? I'm not trained for, I'm not. I haven't been trained to play Latin since the beginning, and no, I don't want to go to Johnny Roof. He said, no, I can't teach you how to play. No. So it's going to be a little bit too much.
But
Yeah.
can you talk, Joe, about, you say I wasn't trained to play jazz. In today's world,
I mean, I had not been playing jazz ever since, since I came to the States and asked to play jazz. I said, there's no such a thing. You can look for Latin bands where all the jazz musicians are. So I started playing Latin. When Dizzy invited me to play with him in the late 60s, I said, no, it's too late now for me to begin with the jazz lessons with you.
what could you talk?
So
could you talk
I
about
did-
what is it? What was it about the jazz that basically you said it's too late to start from the beginning? What did you? I'm very fascinated by this because you are a feel player. What I was trying to say is it's good that you weren't academically trained. You play with feel, so you were able to move into. I mean, Cal Jader was playing Latin jazz. Al McKibben, Benny Velarde, Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay, what was it about the jazz language that you say you were such a beginner at? I don't understand because I feel you were already playing jazz with Joe Beam and those cats.
Yeah, I was doing that, but I didn't want to join Jesus because I saw he was a little bit not well mannered. I saw him get angry with his girlfriend and threw roses in the floor. I said, no, I don't want to start playing jazz with you. I was, I didn't think. Besides, I had my trio going on. My trio was playing, and I was beginning to have a few jobs here and there. And I didn't want to go back to the beginning. I already had my trio going on.
I dig. I dig. I mean, I just find it so interesting that. Did you have a gig at a? What was the name of the club that you guys played at in your trio?
The Trident in Sausalito.
When were you?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. When? I mean, wait a minute. I thought you were in New York. When did you move to San Francisco? You moved to Sausalito?
No, I was living in Los Angeles when I met Mongo.
Yeah.
Mongo brought me to New York when he got his band, and then I came back to Los Angeles because the weather in New York is very rough.
Yes.
And then, so I was living in Los Angeles, moved to New York with Mongo, and came back to Los Angeles because I didn't like the weather in New York. After 4 years of Mambo nights at the Palladium and that theater in the Harlem, what's his name? Everybody plays there.
It was maybe at I cannot remember the name now. But but I want to be that. So that's how you knew Denny Zeitlin, right? Because you play at the Trident.
I played the Trident. What do you mean?
Well, no, but you said Denny Zeitlin the piano player, was making some noise, but I try to figure out. You moved back to Los Angeles because New York is too rough. The weather, not enough, and then you moved to San Francisco, or you just Sausalito. How did you wind up playing at the Trident?
No, the Trident. Yeah, I moved back to LA, but my parents' wife was living in Hillsburg, which is near San Francisco. And the Trident, I went to see the guys playing at the Trident, and the manager asked me to play a last night there on Monday night, and I did, and then he invited me to play 6 weeks. And so I was playing 6 weeks there many times a year until I lost my trio, and I had to bring Chet Baker and Bud Shanks to help with the trio that I had that was not very good.
Wow, this is so incredible, unbelievable stuff. There, did you? Do you remember the recording? How did it? You're on a very famous recording, live at the Blackhawk with Mongol.
Yeah.
And that's.
I remember
that. Can you talk about that session, because that was 1962? It says you played trombone on that. Is that true?
Yeah, I was playing trombone at that time, but not as good as I played the piano. So, but I had a little trombone.
Yeah, I know, but you're very modest. You're a very modest cat. Very modest cat.
No.
And then so.
No, it was because when I met Frank Rosalino, I said, I wish I could play trombone like you, and he said, I wish I could play piano like you. So and then finally I gave up the trombone. I put it on the side, and I said, no, it's not my instrument. It's this instrument I like, but I'm acquainted, I'm more familiar with the piano since child, since I was 5, 6, 7 years.
Can you just, Jal, could we do another interview maybe next week?
Yeah.
I would love to talk to you more.
Come back again.
Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy yourself?
Coming back. Yeah, I enjoyed myself. I'm back in next week.
I call you next week, okay?
Okay.
Hey, love always. I'll send you a link for this interview so you can get a copy of it, okay?
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much. Okay.
Bless you, brother. Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Live from Brazil, we had just treated to an incredible opportunity to talk with João Donato, and we're going to do it again next week. I'll be back in about an hour and 40 minutes with Scott Metzger. In the meantime, we're going to rejoin the Jim Parisi Show in progress.